Hey guys, this is Mylandah. Welcome back to Mass Effect. So, well, today I am going to read through the Codex. I am not really looking forward to it because, oh my god, look at all this. Look at all this. Well, this is being read by someone else, so it's okay. But this, I have to read through every single one of this. So, I'm not exactly looking forward to it, but anyway, hey, here we go, right? Alright. So yeah, this is probably gonna end when I hate myself. It's I am not looking forward to this. Anyway, let's get started. Personal history summary. You were born on Earth, but you never knew your parents. A child of the streets, you learned to live by your wits and guts, surviving in the hidden underbelly of the megatropolises of humanity's homeworld. Eager to find a better life, you joined the Alliance military when you came of age. You volunteered for an expedition to Akuz, a lush world on the outskirts of Alliance space that had suddenly dropped out of contact. Arriving on the surface, your patrol found the settlement intact but no survivors. At nightfall, the Thresher Maw struck, mindless abominations of teeth and tentacles that rose up from underneath the earth. Consult gunfire couldn't drown out the shrieks of your fellow soldiers as they were dragged down to a gruesome death. 15 Marines died on Akuz. You were the only one to make it back to the landing zone alive. A monument on the planet commemorates the massacre, a grim reminder of the price humanity must pay as they spread throughout the stars. One down, so many to go. Let's go. Alright, aliens, council race. Oh, nice. Asari culture. This is gonna be nice. Because of their long lifespan, Asari tend to have a long view, not common in other races. When they encounter a new species or situation, the Asari are more comfortable with an extended period of passive observation and study than immediate action. They are unfazed. This blinking thing is annoying me. Okay, sorry. They are unfazed that some of their investments or decision may not pay off for decades or centuries. Matriarchs can seem to make an incomprehensible decision, but their insight is evident when their carefully laid plans come to fruition. In interstellar relations, this long view manifests in an unspoken policy of centrism. The Asari instinctively seek to maintain stable balances of economic, political, and military power. Traditionally, Asari spread their influence through cultural domination and intellectual superiority. They invite new species of advanced development to join the galactic community, knowing that their ideals and belief will inevitably influence the existing culture. That look, I don't know, that look makes me laugh. The pantheistic mainstream Asari religion is Siari, which translates roughly as all is one. The faithful agree on a certain core truth. The universe is a conscious, every life within it is an aspect of the greater whole. And death is a merging of one's spiritual energy back into the greater universe consciousness. Sierrists don't specifically believe in reincarnation. They believe that spiritual energy returned to the universe. The universal consciousness upon death will eventually be used to fill a new mortal vessel. That kind of means reincarnation, right? Kind of? Kind of? It's just that you get sent to the stars and then back? Siari became popular after the Asari left their homeworld and discovered their ability to meld with nearly any form of life. This ability is seen as proof that all life is fundamentally similar. Siari priestesses see their role as promoting unity between the disparate shards of the universe's awareness. Before the rise of Siari pantheism, Asari religions were as diverse as their political opinions. The strongest survivor of those days is a monotheistic religion worshipping the goddess Athame. Okay, like the Asari, the goddess cycles through the triple aspect of maiden, matron, and matriarch. Sorry if it seems like I'm cutting a lot, but it's because I keep on sneezing. I think I'm allergic to reading this codex, so yeah, I'm getting a bit of a allergy or something. I don't know, maybe I'm just cold. Anyway, so Asari can meld with anything, right? I'm just wondering, what if they meld with like an insect? I'm just saying, like they suddenly find a bee that they really like, or like a lizard. A lizard is okay, but like a bee or a mosquito, what happens then? I kind of want to know. That's an interesting thought. Now I'm going to think about it all night. Before they joined the Citadel Council, the Solarians' most potent military tool was a small reconnaissance team known as the League of One. Their primary training was in espionage and assassination. Never more than a dozen strong, the team was adept at infiltrating the tightest defenses and eliminating all necessary obstacles. Only a few top members of the government and military were privy to the League's identities. League members wore no distinguishing garments and held no particular rank. The only evidence of their participation in the League was a small medallion presented to each member upon induction. This secrecy was maintained until the formation of the Council. In an effort to dispel rumors and appease their new Asari partners, the Solarian Union released all classified documents pertaining to the League. The League of One was suddenly exposed and in danger of being hunted by enemies of the Solarians. Before any harm could be done, the team mysteriously disappeared. Most assumed this was a convenient lie to help hide their identities, but a few months later, the inner cabinet was murdered. Though there was no incriminating evidence, it was clear who was responsible. Realizing the threat posed by this rogue outfit, the Special Task Group dispatched a team of hunters. When they didn't return, the STG dispatched 10 of its brightest operators with broad discretionary powers. Only 2 returned. They reported no evidence of the League. No further incidents were reported, and it was assumed the League was wiped out. Some recent declassified documents however, have suggested there may have been a 13th member who eluded the Solarian military. So yeah, these were the we were picking up those medals from those dead guys all over the world, the galaxy. Yeah. Okay, the Turians. Why did Turians have so many things to talk about? That's not fair, is it? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5 things to talk about. Solarians only have 1. Solarians are not interesting, are they? Anyway, the Turian homeworld Palavin has a metal core. What the hell does that mean? Metal pore core generating a weak magnetic field and allowing more solar radiation into the atmosphere. To deal with this, most life forms on Palavian evolved some form of metallic exoskeleton to protect themselves. Their reflective plate-like skin makes Turians less susceptible to long-term, low-level radiation exposure, but they do not possess any sort of natural armor. A Turian's thick skin does not stop projectiles and directed energy belts. Yes, we know, that's why Garrus keeps on dying. Although life on Palavian is carbon-based and oxygen-breathing, it is built on dextro amino acids. This places the Turians in a distinct minority on the galactic stage. The Quarians are the only other known sapient dextroprotein race. The food of humans, Asari, or Solarians who evolved into in levo amino acid-based biosphere will at best pass through Turian system without providing any nutrition. At worst, it will trigger an allergic reaction that could be fatal if not immediately treated. Sorry. I guess we can't share a meal with Garrus then, right? Oh man, if they eat our food, they die. That's like some kind of insane allergic reaction. While Turians are individuals with personal desires, their instincts is to equate the self with the group, and set aside personal desires for the good of all. Turians are taught to have strong sense of personal accountability. The Turian Earner and other races find so remarkable. Turians are taught to own every decision they make, good or ill. The worst sin they can make in the eyes of their people is to lie about their own actions. Turian who murder will try to get away with it, but if directly questioned, most will confess the crime. Turians have a strong inclination towards public service and self-sacrifice, so they tend to be poor entrepreneurs. To compensate, they accept the mercantile volus as a client race offering protection in exchange for their fiscal expertise. The Turian military is the center of their society. It is not just an armed force, it is an uncompromising public works organization. The military police are also the civic police. The fire brigade serve the civilians population as well as military facilities. The corps of engineers builds and maintains spaceports, schools, water purification plants, and power stations. The merchant marine ensures that all world gets needed resources. That's not bad. Government. The Turian government is a hierarchical meritocracy. Let's just go with that. While it has great potential for misuse, this is tempered by the civic duty and personal responsibility Turians learned in childhood. Turians have 27 citizenship tiers. What the hell? Sorry. Turians have 27 citizenship tiers, beginning with civilians, client races, and children. The initial period of military service is in the second tier. Formal citizenship is conferred at the third tier after boot camp. For client races, citizenship is granted after the individual musters out. Higher ranked citizens are expected to lead and protect subordinates. Lower ranked citizens are expected to obey and support superiors. Promotion to another tier of citizenship is based on the personal assessment of one's superior and co-rankers. So if they hate you, you're not going anywhere in life, huh? Throughout their lives, Turians ascend to higher tiers and are occasionally demoted to lower ones. The stigma associated with demotion lies not on the individual, but on those who promoted him when he wasn't ready for additional responsibilities. This curbs the tendency to promote individuals into position beyond their capabilities. I guess that makes sense, huh? Settling into a role and rank is not considered stagnation. Turians value knowing one's own limitation more than being ambitious. At the top are the primarchs, which each rule a colonization cluster. The primarchs vote on matters of national import. They otherwise maintain a hands-off policy, trusting the citizens on each level below them to do their jobs competently. Turians enjoy broad freedom, so long as one completes his duty and does not prevent others from completing theirs. Nothing is forbidden. For example, there are no laws against recreational drug use, but if someone is unable to complete its duty due to drug use, his superior steps in. Judicial proceedings or interventions, peers express their concerns and try to convince the offender to change. If rehabilitation fails, Turians have no qualms about sentencing dangerous individuals to life at hard labor for the state. Turians are interesting, but I still think it's unfair that they have so many things that we can learn about, while these guys have so little. Maybe we will find out more later. Anyway, although they lack the fertility of the Krogan, the skill of the Asari, and the virtuosity of the humans, the Turian military has formidable discipline. Officers and NCOs are lifters with years of field experience. Enlisted personnel are thoroughly trained and stay calm under fire. Turian's unit don't break even if their entire line collapses. They fall back in order, setting ambushes as they go. A popular saying holds, "You will only see a dead Turian's back once he's dead." Boot camp begins on the 15th birthday. Soldiers receive a year of training before being assigned to a field unit. Officers train for even longer. Most severe Most serve until the age of 30, at which point they become part of the reserves. Even if they suffer injuries preventing frontline services, most do support work behind the lines. Biotics are uncommon. While admired for their extracting skills, Biotics' motives are not always fully trusted by the common soldier. The Turians prefer to assign their biotics to specialist teams called cabals. Cabals? Command and control is decentralized and flexible. Individual squad can call for artillery and air support. They make extensive use of combat drones for light duties and practice combined arms. Infantry operates with armor supported by overhead gunships. Strategically, they are methodical and patient, and dislike risky operations. Tradition is important. Each legion has a full-time staff of historians who chronicle its battle honors in detail. The oldest have records dating back to the Turian Iron Age. If a legion is destroyed in battle, it is reconstituted rather than replaced. Wow. Yeah. I'm just gonna give up on that. The Turians recruit auxiliary units from conquered or absorbed minor races. Auxiliaries are generally light infantry or armored cavalry units that screen and support the main Turian formation. At the conclusion of their service in the auxiliaries, recruits are granted Turian citizenship. Wow. That's harsh. At about the time the Salarians and Asario were forming the Council, the Turians were embroiled in a bitter civil war, the Unification War. It was later named. Began with hostilities between the colonies furthest from the Turian homeworld, Palavin. These colonies were run by local chieftains, many of whom had distanced themselves from the hierarchy. Without a galvanizing influence of the government, the colonies become increasingly isolated and xenophobic. Colonists began wearing emblems or facial markings to differentiate themselves from members of other colonies, and open hostility became common. When the war finally broke out, the hierarchy maintained strict diplomacy and refused to get involved. After several years of fighting, less than a dozen factions remained, and the hierarchy finally intervened. By that time, the chieftains were too weak to resist. They were forced to put an end to fighting and renew their alliance with the hierarchy. Though peace was restored, it took several decades for animosity between colonists to fade completely. To this day, most Turians still wear the facial markings of their home colonies. As a point of interest, the Turian term bare-faced refers to one who is beguiling or not to be trusted. It is also a slang term for politicians. We are done with the Turians. That's the council races, right? Extinct races. Prothean beacons. Okay, Prothean beacon. The beacon was a Prothean artifact unearthed on the Alliance colony of Eden Prime. It resembles. Its resemblance to the Prothean databanks recovered on Mars provoked immediate interest from the Alliance and the Citadel Council. It proved to be a solid-state data storage device, part of a galaxy-spanning comm network similar to the modern extranet. Intact, Prothean paleotechnology is rare. The beacon seems to promise another quantum leap of technology, akin to the discovery of a mass effect drive and relays. Unfortunately, the beacon also drew the attention of the rogue Spectre Saren Arcturus and his synthetic allies, and the Geth. A dawn raid by his flagships, Sovereign resulted in hundreds of civilian casualties. The beacon was badly damaged. The motives behind the attack are still being investigated. During the recovery operation, the beacon fired a pulse of energy at the executive officer of the Alliance frigate Normandy. Lieutenant Commander Shepard survived and appeared to have suffered no ill effects. Afterwards, the beacon fell inert The mechanism appears to be dead. So it fired and it died. The Prothean beacon downloaded its knowledge into Shepard on Eden Prime, causing confusing dreams and visions. While the imagery is becoming clearer with time, the meaning of the beacon communication remains elusive. It has been suggested that Prothean data recording is highly dependent on a certain point of view, what Carl Jung described as the collective unconscious. The cipher needs to be comprehended. The image implanted in Shepard's mind is the cultural knowledge of the Prothean. The archetypes, biological instincts, and common experience universal to the race. Since the Protheans have been dead for millennia, it may be impossible to acquire the cipher. Despite all the evidence confirming the existence of the Protheans, little is known about the culture and society. From time to time, dig sites yield new clues, but after 50,000 years of decay, little value is unearthed. Recent research has found on the discovery of Prothean data disks on their own. They are frail and rarely found in one piece. Occasionally, however, an intact disk will be discovered within a console or reading device. To date, over 3 dozen disks have been recovered, and a few of those have been restored to a point where researchers can begin analyzing them. Though it may be some time before scientists discover a way to transfer the data off the disk, they are currently considered the most tangible leads for learning more about the Prothean culture. After 20 years of manned research outposts and nearly a century of robotic exploration, the European Space Agency Lowell City became the first permanent settlement in Mars in 2103. Within a decade, the United States and China had founded permanent settlements as well. The South Polar region of the Promethae Planum developed a Bermuda Triangle reputation. Satellite detected intermittent mass concentration and magnetic field shifts. In 2148, prospector worked near Deseado crater discovered an underground complex, a Prothean observation post. An odd phenomena were generated by the operation and discharge of the Mass Effect core, struggling to function despite 50 millennia of neglect. Earth was electrified by the news. Humanity was unequivocally not alone. While court battled over who owned the ruins, the international scientist community coordinated a massive effort to access, translate, and interpret the databank recovery from the facility. The facility proved to be a bioscience observation post built when Homo sapiens were first evolving on Earth. While the motives of the Prothean are not certain, translated records indicate that the facility was a regular communication and automated observation platform in Earth orbit and on the lunar near side. The half-dozen Mass Effect spaceships found in the facility were presumably used for first-hand observation. I just went on autopilot there because I have no idea what I just read. I don't know. I don't know what I just read. That was a bit too much for me. All right, let's see if there's anything else interesting here. The Geth Armatures. Armatures are quadruped all-terrain heavy weapon platform akin to the armored fighting vehicles of their race. Geth being synthetic intelligence, armatures are not crude vehicles but intelligent entities capable of independent decision-making and learning. Armatures are equipped with heavy kinetic barrier. Their main cannon, mounted on the articulated head turret, appears to be highly efficient conventional mass accelerator. It is capable of firing in anti-personnel and anti-tank modes. Some armature carry drones into battle, presumably for reconnaissance purposes. Others host a swarm of insect-sized repair microbots. Geth model. I can see there will be more Geths coming because we only met 2. Really? We only met 2? The Geth models, collectively dubbed Hoppers by Alliance Force or Electronic Warfare Platform, they can project electromagnetic radiation across a board spectrum as an offensive weapon. They can also perform cyber warfare attacks on the board, computers of body armor, hard suits, and weapons, adversely affecting their performance. The structure of Hopper consists of an advanced and highly elastic artificial muscle material. This allows a Hopper to compress its entire body for powerful leaps. Hopper also have thousands of molecule-scale barbs, okay, on the surface of their heads and feet, which are used to cling to walls and ceilings. Hoppers are very difficult targets, leaping from one surface to another in rapid. This is not a Hopper, okay? Now, it took me a while to realize what the hell a Hopper is. Okay, the Quarians have no records of any Geth model similar to Hopper. This new morphotype must have been developed over the last 300 years by the Geth themselves. This is troubling proof that the Geth are continuing to move towards technological singularity. Experts in synthetic life are intrigued that Hopper appears to be even more organic than the baseline Geth. The identity subtypes of Hopper have been codenamed Sapper, Stalker, and Ghost. Krogans. Alright, Krogan evolved in a lethal ecology. Over millions of years, the Grimm struggle to survive larger predators, virulent diseases, the resource scarcity on their home world. Whatever. Takanka? That's probably that. Tuch? Whatever, their homeworld turns the lizard into consensual survivors. Oh, so they are lizards. Cool, they are lizards. Perhaps the most telling indicator of their lethality is the Krogan eyes. Although they are a predator species, by any standard definition, their eyes evolved to be wide-set. As in Earth prey species like deer and cattle, Krogan eyes have a 240 degrees arc of vision, better suited for spotting enemies sneaking up on them than for pursuit. Physically, the Krogans are nigh indestructible, with a tough hide, impervious to any melee damage short of a molecular blade. While they feel pain, it does not affect their ability to concentrate. They have multiple functioning examples of all major organs, and can often survive the loss of one or two of any type. Rather than a nervous system, they have an electrically conductive second circulatory system. A Krogan can never be paralyzed. They may lose some of this fluid, but it can be replaced by the body in time. The hump on the Krogan's back stores water and fats that help the Krogan survive lean times. Large humps are a point of pride. Being well-fed implies the Krogan is a superior predator. The most widely known biological feature of the Krogan is their incredible birth rate and rapid maturity. Once freed from the hostile cauldron of Chka, the Krogan population swelled into a numberless horde. Only the genophage kept them from outbreeding the combined council races. Now the rare Krogan female, capable of bringing a child to term, are treated like a strategic resource. Warlords will trade them at diplomacy, or more frequently fight wars over them. Wow, really? Wow. The harsh Krogan homeworld conditioned the Krogan psychology for toughness, just as it did the body. Krogan have always had the tendency to be selfish, unsympathetic, and blunt. They respect strength and self-reliance and are neither surprised nor offended by treachery. Really? Okay. The weak and selfless do not live long. In their culture, looking out for number one is simply a matter of course. After their defeat in the rebellions, the very concept of Krogan leadership was discredited. Where a warlord could once command enough power to bring entire the solar system to heel and become overlord, these days it is rare for a single leader to have more than 1,000 warriors swear alliance to them. Most Krogan trust and serve no one but themselves. This solitary attitude stems in part of the deep sense of fatalism and futility, the profound social effect of the genophage, which caused Krogan numbers to dwindle to a relative handful. Not only are they angry that the entire galaxy seems out to get them, the Krogan are also generally pessimistic about their race's chances of survival. The surviving Krogan see no point to building for the future. There will be no future. The Krogan live with an attitude of kill, pillage, and be selfish, or for tomorrow we die. That is actually very sad. That is very sad. Imagine your whole race just slowly dying because you can't make babies. Anyway, the genophage bioweapon was created to end the Krogan rebellion. From the start, the Krogan had overwhelmed the Council. Only timely first contact with the Turian saved the Council races. The Turian fought the Krogan to a standstill, but sheer weight of Krogan number indicated the war could not be won through conventional means. The Turian collaborated with the Solarians to genetically engineer a counter to the rapid breeding of the Krogan. The genophage virus gained the energy to replicate by eating key genetic sequences. Every cell in every Krogan had to be altered for the weapon to be foolproof. Otherwise, the Krogan could have used gene therapy to fix the affected tissue. Once a genophage strain could find no more genes to eat, it would starve and die, limiting spin-off mutation and contamination. This created genetic flaw is hereditary. Wow. Okay. The Solarian believed the genophage would be used as a deterrent, a position the Turians view as naive. Once the project was complete, the Turians mass-produced and deployed it. The Krogan homeworld, their colony, and all occupied worlds were infected. The resulting mutation made only 1 in 1,000 Krogan pregnancy. 1 in 1,000 carry the term. It did not reduce fertility, but offspring viability. The rare female able to carry children to term became prizes the Krogan warlords fought brutal battles over. The Krogans are a shadow of their former glory. While the rebellions took place centuries ago, they are constantly reminded of the horror of the genophage and their inability to counter it. The release of the genophage is still controversial, bitterly debated in many circles. After the Rachni War, the quick-breeding Krogan expanded at the expense of their neighbors. Warlords leveraging their veteran soldiers to siege living space while the Council races are still grateful. Okay. Over centuries, the Krogan conquered world after world. There was always just one more needed. When the Council finally demanded withdrawal from the Asari colony of Lucia, Krogan overlord Kredak stormed off the Council, daring the Council to take their worlds back. But the Council had taken precaution. The finest STG operator and Asari huntresses have been drafted into a covert observation force. Really? I'm just gonna look at it. The Office of the Special Tactics and Reconnaissance, the Spectres opened the war with crippling strategic strikes. Krogan planets went dark as computer viruses flood their extranet. Sabotage antimatter refineries disappeared in blue-white annihilation. Headquarters stations shattered into orbit-clogging debris, rammed by pre-placed suicide freighters. Still, this only delayed the inevitable. The war would have been lost if not for the first contact with the Turians, who responded to Krogan threats with a prompt declaration of war. Being on the far side of Krogan space from the Council, the Turian advanced rapidly into the lightly defended Krogan rear areas. The Krogan responded by dropping space stations and asteroids on Turian colonies. 3 worlds were rendered completely uninhabitable. This was precisely the wrong approach to take with the Turian. Each its first and foremost a public servant, willing to risk his life to protect his comrades. Rather than increasing public war wariness, Krogan tactics stiffens Turian resolve. The arrival of Turian Task Force saved many worlds from the warlords' marauding fleets, but it took development of the genophage bioweapon to end the war. There were decades of unrest afterwards. Rogue warlords and holdout groups of insurgents refused to surrender or disappeared into the former system to become pirates. It is actually very sad. Those species wiped. I wonder if they can fix it. I don't know. Maybe like give a little bit of, you know, so they don't wipe out. Anyway, like traditional Krogan tactics were built on attritional mass unit warfare, equipped with cheap, rugged gear. Troop formation were powerful but inflexible. Command and control was very centralized. Soldier in the field who saw a target contract their commander behind the lines to arrange fire support. Since the genophage, the Krogan can no longer afford the casualties of the old horde attacks. The battle masters are a match for any 10 soldiers of another species. To a battle master, killing is a science. They focus on developing a clean brute force economy of motion that exploits their brutal strength and to incapacitate enemies with a swift single blow of overwhelming power. This change of focus of mass unit warfare to maximal efficiency has increased employment demand in the field of security and muscle for hire. Due to the unsavory reputation of the Krogan, most of these jobs are on the far side of the law. Battle masters are not spit and polish, but they do believe in being well armed and equipped, preferably with a gun for each limb. They are callous. They are callous and brutal, but methodical and disciplined. They use any means at their disposal to achieve their goals, no matter how reprehensible. Hostage-taking and genocide are acceptable means to ensure a quiet occupation with few Krogan casualties. The Krogan serving with Saren's forces appear to be returning to the old style of mass attritional combat. They also work in close cooperation with supporting Geth units, who fill the roles occupied by combat drones in other armies. Biotics are rare among the Krogan. Those that existing are viewed as suspicion and fear. The Krogan see this aura of fear as a usual quality for an officer and often promote them. Combat drones and other high-tech equipment are likewise in short supply. Alright, I am starting to hate myself, so I am going to end reading after this Quarian thing. I'm starting to hate myself now. The Migrant Fleet has little economic base, operating a state of perpetual hand-to-mouth. While Quarian ships include light manufacturing and assembly plants, they lack heavy industrial such as refining and shipbuilding. The fleet has tankers for water purification and oxygen cracking, but the space-intensive nature of agriculture limits food production. A single disaster could destroy the fragile balance. The Quarians earned income in creative ways. Because the government is obliged to provide food, water, air, and medical support for every individual, the Conclave strategically determines the course of the fleet to bring in resources and income. A species who suspects the Migrant Fleet is heading towards their space often offer a gift of surplus starship, fuel, and resources to convince the Conclave to alter course. As the fleet passes through the system, swarms of mining vessels work over asteroids for metal and siliceous materials, and cometary bodies for water, ice, and organics. Quarian miners are adept at locating and strip mining spaceborne resources. This sparks conflict with cooperation already working the system. Large mining concerns spend millions of lobbyists and public relations portraying the Quarians as locusts, devouring the resources of the system before moving on. The greatest assets of Quarians is their rarefied skills. Wow. their rarefied skills. Most are experienced miners. Due to their life of perpetual salvage and repair, they are skilled engineers and technicians. More than once, the very corporations that lobbies against the Quarians have made back room deals with the fleet, arranging for skilled Quarians to fill space engineering jobs that other species would demand higher wages for. Quarians are widely hated among the working classes. The Quarians are coming to take our jobs, is a common response to the fleet's approach. Well, they are the best, right? Of course, you have to hire the best. And cheap, too. Cheap labor. Due to the Quarians' precarious existence and the need to enforce strict rationing, government is somewhat autocratic. The Migrant Fleet operations are directed by the Admiralty, the board of 5 military officers who are advised by the legislative body called the Conclave. Each vessel in the fleet has the right to send representative to the Conclave aboard the flagship. The number of representatives is based on crew size. Larger clans with bigger ships and more votes form the core of political blocs. The opposition comes from the Outriders coalition with delegates from thousands of smaller ships. The Admiralty defers to the Conclave decision in most circumstances. However, if all 5 members agree that a Conclave decision jeopardizes the survival of the fleet and cannot get the Conclave to address their concerns, they have the right to summarily overturn the legislative decision. After the Admiralty uses its extraordinary power, they must resign. If the Admiralty does not step down after using their veto, the rest of the military is obliged to arrest them. So much politics. Each ship captain has authority over his vessel, but is advised by the elected civilian council, just as the Admiralty is advised by the Conclave. This relationship may range from cooperation to polite tolerance to outrage hostility, but any captain who overrules this council without good reason is relieved of command by the Admiralty. Many Quarian ships are owned by clans who pool their resources to purchase used vessels from private sellers. Large ships are prestigious for big, rich clans, but a small ship means status for a small clan with enough personal wealth to afford a private vessel. Clan vessel captains are not subject to the dismissal by the Admiralty. Abusive captains are a family problem if they do not disrupt the operation of the fleet. Oh, although Conclave establishes civil law, much as any planet-based democracy, enforcement and trials are more unique. After the flight from the Geth, there are few constables to police the millions of civilians aboard the fleet. So, the Navy parceled out Marine squads to maintain order and enforce the law. Today, Quarian Marines have evolved training and tactic akin to civilian police, but remain adept at combat in the refined space of the starship, and fully under the command of the military. Once taken into custody, the accused is brought before the ship captain for judgment, while the ship's council may make recommendation. Tradition hold the captain has absolute authority in the matter of discipline. Most are lenient, assigning additional or more odious maintenance tasks aboard the ship. Recidivists are accidentally left on the next habitable world. This practice of abandoning criminals on their people's planets is a point of friction between the Quarians and the system they pass through. Captains rarely have another choice, with space and resources at premium. Supporting non-productive prison population is not an option. In the early years, many Quarian fighters are armed and used as irregular privateers. Civilian ships still shows a strong preference for armament, making them unpopular targets for pirates. Though they have rebuilt their military, there are still mere hundreds of warships to protect tens of thousands of ships. The Quarian Navy allows strict routine of patrol and takes no chances. If the intent of an approaching ship can't be ascertained, they shoot to kill. The Migrant Fleet The Migrant Fleet is the largest concentration of star-faring vessels in the galaxy, sprawling across millions of kilometers. It can take days for the entire fleet to pass through the massed relay. When the Quarians fled their homeworld, the fleet was a motley aggregation of freighters, shuttlers, industrial vessels, and a lot warship. After 3 centuries, all have been modified to support larger crews as comfortably as possible. As the Quarian achieved stability, they began wheeling out ships at least suitable for long-term habitation, selling them and pooling the money to buy larger and more space-worthy hulls. This process is ongoing as vessels wear out and break down. While some ships enjoy dedicated cabin with full privacy and sanitary facility, many more are former freighters, whose cargo bays and containers are pressurized and divided into family spaces using simple metal cubicle bulkhead. The quarry enlivened these austere spaces with colorful quilts, tapestry, which help muffle sound. The day-to-day operation of the fleet, traffic control, station keeping, supply distribution, and so on, are under military jurisdiction. Through ship captains have the authority to deviate from their assigned position and may leave the fleet at any time. They are assumed to do so at their own risk. As the Migrant Fleet moves around the galaxy, many ships split off to pursue individual goals, returning days or years after. When Quarians of the Migrant Fleet reach young adulthood, they must leave their birth ship and find a new crew to accept them as permanent residents. To prove themselves, they must recover something of value. This is offered to their prospective captain as proof that they will not be a mere burden on the shoestring resources of the ship. This process is called the pilgrimage. Stripped of ritual, the pilgrimage is merely an attempt to maintain genetic diversity within the small, relative, isolated population base that make up the Migrant Fleet. If the young stayed and married within their birth vessel, the risk of inbreeding would increase sharply. Quarians are surgically fitted with their various immunity-boosting implants with preparation for leaving on pilgrimage. Having grown up with the sterile, controlled environment of the Migrant Fleet ship, Quarians have virtually no natural immune system. They should eat some dirt when they're young. Just some space dirt. The ancient Quarian practiced ancestor worship, even after abandoning faith for secularism. Quarians continue to revere the wisdom of elders. As time passed and technology advanced, they inevitably turned their knowledge to preserving and the personalities and memories of the elderly as computer virtual intelligence. These recordings became a repository of knowledge and wisdom stored in a central databank and available through any extranet connection. They held no illusion that this was a form of immortality. Like all virtual intelligence, their electronically preserved ancestors were not truly sapient. This was considered a surmountable problem. Sapience could surely be reduced to simple mathematics. The Quarian began exhaustive research into creating artificial intelligence so they could learn to escape the bounds of mortality and give their ancestral records true awareness. Unfortunately, the life of the Quarians created did not accept the same truth they did. The Geth destroyed the ancestors' data bank when they took over. Oh my god. In the centuries they evacuated their homeworld. Most Quarians have returned to religion in various forms. Many believe that the rise of the Geth and the destruction of their ancestor were chastisement for arrogantly forsaking the old ways and venerating self-made idols. Others have a more philosophical outlook, believing that their race was indeed arrogant, but no supernatural agency lay behind the Geth revolt. Rather, the Quarians' action wrought their own doom. Either way, every Quarian would agree that their own hubris cost them their home world. So yeah, government, like, I have no interest in the government law defense. Oh my god. I can't I read through them, but it doesn't. I don't. I don't get it. Anyway, let's go with the primary. Let's see the stuff that I'm missing. Okay.
In the early 2160s, the Alliance began aggressive colonization of worlds in the Scythian Verge, much to the dismay of the Batarians, who had been developing the region for several decades. In 2171, the Batarians petitioned the Council to declare the Verge a zone of Batarian interest. The Council refused, however, declaring unsettled worlds in the region open to human colonization. In protest, the Batarians closed their Citadel embassy and severed official diplomatic relations with the Council, effectively becoming a rogue state. They instigated a proxy war in the Verge by funneling money and weapons to criminal organizations, urging them to strike at human colonies. Hostilities peaked with the Scythian Blitz of 2176, an attack on the human capital of Elysium by Batarian-funded pirates and slavers. In 2178, the Alliance retaliated with a crushing assault on the moon of Torfin, long used as a staging base by Batarian-backed criminals. In the aftermath, the Batarians retreated into their own systems and are now rarely seen in Citadel space.
They look interesting with those 4 eyes. Alright. We are done with the non-cans. Yeah.
After the Geth's secure location,
we have done that.
Thresher moths are subterranean carnivores that spend their entire lives eating or searching for something to eat. Threshers reproduce via spores that can lie dormant for millennia, yet are robust enough to survive prolonged periods in deep space and atmospheric re-entry. As a result, thresher spores appear on many worlds, spread by previous generations of space travelers. The body of a thresher never entirely leaves the ground. Only the head and tentacles erupt from the Earth to attack. In addition to physical attacks, threshers have the ability to project toxic chemicals and emit bursts of infrasound as a shockwave weapon. The Alliance first encountered threshers on the colony of Akuz in 2177. After contact was lost with the Pioneer team, Marine units were deployed to investigate. The shore parties were set upon by hungry threshers, and nearly the entire assault force was killed. Alliance forces recommend engaging threshers with vehicle-mounted heavy weapons.
So can we actually kill it? Like, not on Mako-chan? Will that work at all? To be honest, why didn't they just all make like read it out, like everything, even the secondary? That would make my life so much easier.
The Citadel is an ancient deep space. Citadel space is an unofficial term referring to any region of space controlled by a species that acknowledges the authority of the Citadel Council. At first glance, it appears this territory encompasses most of the galaxy. In reality, however, less than 1% of the stars have been explored. Even Mass Effect FTL Drive is slow relative to the volume of the galaxy. Empty space and systems without suitable drive discharge sites are barriers to exploration. Only the mass relays allow ships to jump hundreds of light years in an instant, the key to expanding across an otherwise impassable galaxy. Whenever a new relay is activated, the destination system is rapidly developed. From that hub, FTL Drive is used to expand to nearby star clusters. The result is a number of densely developed clusters, thinly spread across the vast expanse of space, connected by the mass relay network. The home world and capital of humanity is entering a new golden age. The resource wealth of a dozen settled colonies and 100 industrial outposts flows back to Earth, fueling great works of industry, commerce, and art. The great cities are greening, as arcology skyscrapers and telecommuting allow more efficient use of land. Earth is still divided among nation-states, though all are affiliated beneath the overarching banner of the Systems Alliance. While every human enjoys a longer and better life than ever, the gap between rich and poor widens daily. Advanced nations have eliminated most genetic disease and pollution. Less fortunate regions have not progressed beyond 20th century technology and are often smog-choked, overpopulated slums. Sea levels have risen 2 meters in the last 200 years, and violent weather is common due to environmental damage inflicted during the late 21st century. The past few decades, however, have seen significant improvement due to recent technological advances.
Yeah, that sounds like it would happen.
Humanity's first contact with an alien race occurred in 2157. At that time, the Alliance allowed survey fleets to activate any dormant mass relays discovered, a practice considered dangerous and irresponsible by Council-aligned races. When a Turian patrol discovered a human fleet attempting to activate a relay, they attacked. One human vessel survived, retreating to the colony of Shanxi. The Turians followed, quickly defeating the local forces. Shanxi was occupied, the first and to date only human world to be conquered by an alien species. The Turians believed the handful of ships they defeated represented the bulk of human defenses, so they were unprepared when the Second Fleet, under Admiral Castany Drescher, launched a strong counteroffensive, evicting them from Shanxi. The Turians mobilized for full-scale war, drawing the attention of the rest of the galaxy. The Council quickly intervened, forcing a truce. Fortunately for humanity, the First Contact War was ended with a diplomatic solution.
I kind of agree. The Turian would kill us all.
Pharos is a habitable world in the Attican Beta Cluster. 2/3 of the habitable surface is covered with the ruins of a crumbling Prothean megatropolis. In the millennia since the Prothean extinction, the ruins have been repeatedly picked over by looters many times. Pharos was considered a poor prospect for colonization, as little open ground remains for agriculture. The only sizable freshwater sources are the poles, which are tapped by the decaying Prothean aqueduct systems. The dead cities, while in good condition considering their antiquity, are of uncertain stability. Ground level is congested by a dozen meters of fallen debris, and the air is fouled by dust. In 2178, the Human Exogeny Corporation announced its intention to place a permanent colony on Pharos to thoroughly explore the ruins. The pioneer settlement was placed on the upper levels of several intact skyscrapers, using the surviving Prothean aqueducts and rooftop hydroponic gardens to support the population. Noveria is a cool, rocky world with most of its hydrosphere locked up in massive glaciers. A privately chartered colony world, the planet is owned by the Noveria Development Corporation Holding Company. The NDC is funded by investment capital from 24 high-technology development firms and administrated by an executive board representing their interests. The investors built remote hot labs in isolated locations across Noveria's surface. These facilities are used for research too dangerous or controversial to be performed elsewhere, as Noveria is technically not part of Citadel space and therefore exempt from Council law. By special arrangement, Citadel special tactics and reconnaissance agents have been granted extraterritorial privileges, but it remains to be seen how committed the Executive Board is to that principle. Given its unique situation, it is understandable that Noveria is often implicated in all manner of wild conspiracy theories. There are between 200 and 400 billion stars in the galaxy, and less than 1% of them have ever been visited or had their systems properly surveyed. Humanity's early expansion into the Attican Traverse was haphazard, a desperate race to claim habitable planets where populations can be economically settled. Ignored in the wake of this land grab were thousands of less hospitable worlds, each potentially rich with industrial resources. The wealth of entire solar systems lies untapped, waiting for corporate survey teams or independent pioneers to discover and exploit them. However, this is not an easy task. In addition to the environmental hazards, the fact that uncharted worlds are largely ignored makes them popular bases for criminals, revolutionaries, cults, and others who wish to remain unnoticed by galactic society.
That makes sense. All right.
Faster-than-light drives use element zero cores to reduce the mass of the ship, allowing higher rates of acceleration. This effectively raises the speed of light within the mass effect field, allowing high-speed travel with negligible relativistic time dilation effects. Starships still require conventional thrusters, chemical rockets, commercial fusion torch, economy ion engine, or military anti-proton drive, in addition to the FTL drive core. With only a core, a ship has no motive power. The amount of ESO and power required for a drive increases exponentially to the mass being moved and the degree it is being lightened. Very massive ships, or very high speeds, are prohibitively expensive. If the field collapses while the ship is moving at faster than light speed, the effects are catastrophic. The ship is snapped back to sublight velocity, the enormous excess energy shed in the form of lethal Cherenkov radiation.
That does not sound good. Military ship classification.
Larger warships are generally classified in one of 4 weights. Frigates are small, fast ships used for scouting and screening of larger vessels. Frigates often operate in wolf-pack flotillas. Cruisers are middleweight combatants, faster than dreadnoughts and more heavily armed than frigates. Cruisers are the standard patrol unit and often lead frigate flotillas. Dreadnoughts are kilometer-long capital ships mounting heavy, long-range firepower. They are only deployed for the most vital missions. Carriers are dreadnought-sized vessels that also carry large numbers of fighters. Smaller vessels are almost exclusively used in a support role to the warships during combat. Fighters are one-man craft used to perform close-range attacks on enemy ships. Interceptors are one-man craft optimized for destroying opposing fighters. The Normandy is a prototype starship developed by the Human Systems Alliance with the assistance of the Citadel Council. It is optimized for scouting and reconnaissance missions in unstable regions using state-of-the-art stealth technology. For most ships, the heat generated through standard operations is easily detectable against the absolute zero background of space. The Normandy, however, is able to temporarily sink this heat within the hull. Combined with refrigeration of the exterior hull, the ship can travel undetected for hours or drift passively for days of covert observation. This is not without risk. The stored heat must eventually be radiated, or it will build to levels capable of cooking the crew alive. Another component of the stealth system is the Normandy's revolutionary Tantalus Drive, a mass effect core twice the standard size. The Tantalus Drive generates mass concentrations that the Normandy falls into, allowing it to move without the use of heat-emitting thrusters.
The Normandy sounds pretty good. It's like a really big bomb too, right? Like if I crash into something, we would probably destroy a lot of things.
Ship mobility dominates space combat. The primary objective is to align the mass accelerator along the bow with the opposing vessel's broadside. Battles typically play out as artillery duels, fought at ranges measured in thousands of kilometers, though assaults through defended mass relays often occur at knife fight ranges, as close as a few dozen kilometers. Most ship-to-ship engagements are skirmishes between patrol vessels of cruiser weight and below, with dreadnoughts and carriers only deployed in full-scale fleet actions. Battles in open space are short and often inconclusive, as the weaker opponent typically disengages. Once a ship enters FTL flight, the combat is effectively over. There are no sensors capable of tracking them, or weapons capable of damaging them. The only way to guarantee an enemy will stand and fight is to attack a location they have a vested interest in, such as a settled world or a strategically important mass relay.
Mako-chan, Mako-chan.
The Mako infantry
Mako-chan.
fighting vehicle was designed for the System Alliance's frigates. Though the interior is cramped, an M35 is small enough to be carried in the cargo bay and easily deployed on virtually any world. With its turreted 155mm mass accelerator and coaxially mounted machine gun, the Mako can provide a fire team with weapon support as well as mobility. Since Alliance Marines may be required to fight on any world, the Mako is environmentally sealed and equipped with microthrusters for use on low-gravity planetoids. The Mako is powered by a sealed hydrogen-oxygen fuel cell and includes a small Element Zero core. While not large enough to nullify the vehicle's mass, the core can reduce it enough to be safely airdropped. When used in conjunction with thrusters, it also allows the Mako to extricate itself from difficult terrain.
That kind of explains why it's so awesome.
Biotics is the ability of rare individuals to manipulate dark energy and create mass effect fields through the use of electrical impulses from the brain. Intense training and surgically implanted amplifiers are necessary for a biotic to produce mass effect fields powerful enough for practical use. The relative strength of biotic abilities varies greatly among species and with each individual. There are 3 branches of biotics. Telekinesis uses mass-lowering fields to levitate or impel objects. Mass-raising kinetic fields are used to block or pin objects. Spatial distortion uses rapidly shifting mass fields to shred objects. Most organic species are capable of developing biotic abilities, though there are risks involved. Biotics are the result of an in utero exposure to element 0. This usually causes fatal cancers in the victim, but in rare cases, it coalesces into nodules within the fetus's developing nervous system.
Yeah, that's why a lot of children have brain cancer. But that is so sad. Like, how many actually succeed? I think
An
Caden
artificial
mentioned
intelligence is a self-aware computing system capable of learning and independent decision-making. Creation of a conscious AI requires adaptive code, a slow, expensive education, and a specialized quantum computer called a blue box. An AI cannot be transmitted across a communication channel or computer network. Without its blue box, an AI is no more than data files. Loading these files into a new blue box will create a new personality, as variations in the quantum hardware and runtime results create unpredictable variations. The Geth serve as a cautionary tale against the dangers of rogue AI, and in Citadel space, they are technically illegal. Advocacy groups argue, however, that an AI is a living, conscious entity, deserving the same rights as organics. They argue that continued use of the term artificial is institutionalized racism on the part of organic life. The term synthetic is considered the politically correct alternative.
Okay, whatever, man.
When subjected to an electrical current, the rare material dubbed Element 0, or EZO, emits a dark energy field that raises or lowers the mass of all objects within it. This mass effect is used in countless ways, from generating artificial gravity to manufacturing high-strength construction materials. It is most prominently used to enable faster-than-light space travel. EZO is generated when solid matter, such as a planet, is affected by the energy of a star going supernova. The material is common in the asteroid debris that orbits neutron stars and pulsars. These are dangerous places to mine, requiring extensive use of robotics, telepresence, and shielding to survive the incredible radiation from the dead star. Only a few major corporations can afford the setup costs required to work these primary sources. Humanity discovered refined Element 0 at the Prothean Research Station on Mars, allowing them to create mass effect fields and develop FTL travel.
So all the technology is actually stolen from somewhere, yeah?
Element 0 can increase or decrease the mass of a volume of space-time when subjected to an electrical current. With a positive current, mass is increased. With a negative current, mass is decreased. The stronger the current, the greater the magnitude of the dark energy mass effect. In space, low-mass fields allow FTL travel and inexpensive surface-to-orbit transit. High-mass fields create artificial gravity and push space debris away from vessels. In manufacturing, low-mass fields permit the creation of evenly blended alloys, while high-mass compaction creates dense, sturdy construction materials. The military makes extensive use of mobility-enhancing technologies, with mass effect utilizing fighting vehicles standard frontline issue in most military forces. Mass effect fields are also essential in the creation of kinetic barriers or shields to protect against enemy fire. Omni Tools are handheld devices that combine a computer microframe, sensor analysis pack, and manufacturing fabricator. Versatile and reliable, an Omni tool can be used to analyze and adjust the functionality of most standard equipment, including weapons and armor, from a distance. The fabrication module can rapidly assemble small three-dimensional objects from common reusable industrial plastics, ceramics, and light alloys. This allows for field repairs and modifications to most standard items, as well as the reuse of salvaged equipment. Omni tools are standard issue for soldiers and first-in colonists.
All right.
Combat hard suits use a dual-layer system to protect the wearer. The inner layer consists of fabric armor with kinetic padding. Areas that don't need to be flexible, such as the chest or shins, are reinforced with sheets of lightweight ablative ceramic. The outer layer consists of automatically generated kinetic barriers. Objects traveling above a certain speed will trigger the barrier's reflex system and be deflected, provided there is enough energy left in the shield's power cell. Armored hard suits are sealable to protect the wearer from extremes of temperature and atmosphere. Standard equipment includes an onboard mini-frame and a communications, navigation, and sensing suite. The mini-frame is designed to accept and display data from a weapon's smart targeting system to make it easier to locate and eliminate enemies.
I'm not sure if I read this before, but it sounds similar. Like
A
familiar.
mass accelerator propels a solid metal slug using precisely controlled electromagnetic attraction and repulsion. The slug is designed to squash or shatter on impact, increasing the energy it transfers to the target. If this were not the case, it would simply punch a hole right through, doing minimal damage. Accelerator design was revolutionized by Element Zero. A slug lightened by a mass effect field can be accelerated to greater speeds, permitting projectile velocities that were previously unattainable. If accelerated to a high enough velocity, a simple paint chip can impact with the same destructive force as a nuclear weapon. However, mass accelerators produce recoil equal to their impact energy. This is mitigated somewhat by the mass effect fields that rounds are suspended within. But weapon recoil is still the prime limiting factor on slug velocity.
All right. Well, that is all. That is all we have for that. And secondary, I don't think I'm gonna read through this. I don't think I can. Anyway, that is all the codex we have for today. And then next time we are getting back to whatever I was doing in Noveria. Anyway, thank you all for watching. And yeah, I'm a bit burnt out right now. And I will see you guys next time. All right, bye.